Okay, everybody, here we go. So,
Hi there.
hi. The past few weeks, we've been drawing several different things with different methods. We started out with perspective drawing, then we did some flowers, in which we used basic shapes and a little bit of perspective came into play with that. Then we did a room interior, and last time we did a 2-point perspective with a birdhouse and a bird. So we're moving on now to animals, and we're going to start with a dog. For this particular drawing session, we're going to do the simple shapes version, and we're going to try drawing a corgi. So I'm going to demonstrate, and you just try the steps along with me. And well, here we go. Okay, so the first thing I do, like I've told people before lots of times, is I try to find basic shapes and just map out where things are going to go. In art terms, that's called gesture drawing. So in this little corgi, it's very, very simple. I'm just going to start with a little oval up here for the head area and a sausage oval down here for the body area. Because that's basically what he consists of. Then about a third of the way down this little head area, I'm going to draw another arc. That's going to be where for the section of his nose begins. And I'm going to go down kind of like a U and erase part of the inside stuff. So it's almost like a rounded off triangle, the fatter part being up here and the thinner part being down here of the oval. Okay, next I'm going to place an oval about halfway down this shape, maybe a little bit more. And that's going to indicate where the nose is going to go. And this is still part of his head up here. That's still part of his head. Make him a little smaller. For his ears, we're going to do a couple of rounded off triangles. So here's a triangle. That's not really his ear. That's more like a fox or a horse or something. So instead of doing that, we're going to round off the triangle, making a rounder shape. I'm going to erase what's in here. So the ear is fatter at the bottom. And I need to make this even more slimmer at the top. Rounded though. We'll draw a similar shape on the other side of his head, leaving a space about an ears with space in between the two ears. I'm going to draw two tiny ovals here that are smaller than the nose ovals for the eyes. I'm going to leave like a larger space in between the eyes than I do the nose. I do the ears, sorry. Again, all this can be modified and will continue to be modified as we go. Okay, so I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. At this nose shape right here, we're going to draw a little vertical line in the center of it like that. I'm going to curve down a little bit like this. Curve down a little bit like this, almost like a letter J. Whoops, maybe that I have to erase. And then to make his mouth open, we're going to take the edges of that like letter J and bring it up like this. Now, I know he looks like a bear or something right now, but we'll get there. It's all about building up shapes. Okay, now we're going to come down from the corner of that mouth shape a little bit, like that, leaving it open. Excuse me a second, I just dropped my pencil, so I'll be back. Now we're going to draw a larger U shape within this negative space that's going to be a tongue later. I'm going to go down like this, long U shape. I'm going to erase the innards. And that's where his tongue is going to be. Now to make him more furry, I'm going to add some mass on either side of his head so he doesn't look as much like a deformed bear. So I'm going to add some fluffy lines out here, like bumpy lines here. And then go down like this and blend it into that shape like so. Was everybody seeing everything okay from this view?
Yes.
Yes.
I think this is better than how I was doing it, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
When it's flat? Okay, good. All right. Last week it was kind of flat and hard to follow. All right, so what should we do next? It's almost like he's got a little mask on. So I'm going to erase this part of the little oval. The way his fur and markings are, it's almost like a little mask. And I'm going to do something right beside the eye. I'm going to make a curve up like this and a curve that goes around his face. Bumpy little curve here and go around his face. This is going to be like a mask type of thing to get his markings in. From the top, I'm going to make a shape that starts out a little wider and then gets skinnier down towards the nose area and then gets wider again. And I'm going to erase the pre-drawing in that section. Now you kind of see his little mask start to show. I'll make that a little bit bigger. So I can make that go back a few steps and forward again. So you can, whoops, sorry. So you can see what I did here, and I'll make it larger. We'll go back a few steps. That's before and after. Erase, erase. Adding that mask shape, adding that shape in between the eyeballs. And erase part of the pre-draw. They're starting to look a little bit more like a corgi now. Okay. Now the next step is we're going to indicate where his chest is because he's got a chest area that his legs come out from in this view of the photograph that I have. So I'm going to draw kind of an oval down this way, give it some width here. I'm not going to draw through his head. It's like a letter U. Let's call it a letter U. Right underneath his head like that. Sorry, I bumped there. And then I'm going to erase some of this pre-draw. Okay, now down the bottom of that, I'm going to draw a little sausagey looking oval in two parts. Part of it is going to go vertical, and part of the oval is going to be horizontal, like that. And then for the other front paw, I'm going to do an oval vertical this way. I'm going to do this at a slight angle like this. Katie's talking to me. Yes, Katie. Yes, Katie. Okay, I'm going to flesh out part of his belly by just drawing a line, curving, and making a bumpy line to indicate fur. Come down closer to that paw and curving it up towards the rear end. So just like a curve like this, except I added some bumpiness to it for fur. Okay, also add some bumpiness down here for fur. Then I'm going to erase part of my pre-draw, this little section right here. Okay, now I'm going to work a little bit on the hind legs. There's a gluteus maximus muscle back there. There's a butt muscle back there. So I'm going to indicate that with another oval. Like this. I'm going to draw another little oval, almost kind of more vertical down from it, like that. Yes, I'm going to draw yet another oval that's even more straight down. And then a little oval for where his paw is going to be. Why am I drawing that kind of, that's a lot of ovals, isn't it? But it'll give the feeling once we draw around it to give that feel, that leg, how it's positioned, like so. And then behind that, kind of where this letter V meets the leg with the belly, we're going to do another oval here, and another oval out this way. Now, since this part was kind of complex right here, I think I'm going to show you some of it backwards and forwards again to help you. Let's get rid of it and then bring it back to help you with those steps again, because that was a lot of steps. Okay, so here we go, those steps again. This, this, next, 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 boom, 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 and then Okay. So now in the back and the rear end region, we're going to erase some of our pre-draw, but leave the basic outline. So I'll show you what I'm going to erase now. We can go back to this front paw and erase some of the pre-draw, the inner part, like so. Because that paw is actually coming from this part of his body. This paw is like behind the fur, so we'll still leave this edge there. This paw is behind the fur. This paw from his, when he's standing, is coming from that part of the body. Okay, now I'm going to zoom in on the nose, and I'm going to do some more detail on the nose. Right now, all we have is an oval, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the nose has sections and parts and little details to make it seem more like the dog's nose. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to erase some of this pre-draw scribbling in the middle of that oval. And I'm going to make a vertical line coming from the center, kind of like where I made that little split where his mouth opens. I'm going to make a vertical line within the nose in that same general region. Like that. That's his nose. Okay, back to the nose detail again. I'm going to draw this part a little bit bigger. Angle it in on the sides and like across here, then like a U-y shape. I'm going to bring it down on the sides, more like a letter V down here. That's going to get us more the shape of the nose. Then I will erase some of the pre-draw. There he is close up. There's that nose far away. It's still not quite done yet, but it's looking a little bit more like the dog's nose should. Okay, for the next step, we're going to put where his little nostrils are in so he can breathe. Basically, it's like a backwards letter C and a letter C, and then we'll hone it to make it more correct, like a more feasible shape for a dog's nostrils to be. But right now, it's just going to be like a letter C this way, letter C that way. If we want to get even more detailed in particular, there's little indents and curves and things we can do, like we'll make this come down here a little bit and make this part indent a little bit so the shape is more like in a little bit, then around, in a little bit as it goes, connects to the side of the nose. So it's not like just a regular letter C. It's a organic shape. It's fatter here, and then it gets smaller, or connects to the side. So this opposed to this. That's our little cartoon beginning. That's more of a realistic shape of what the nostrils are doing. Okay, let's try to fix this other nostril up a little bit. Make it big so you can see. I'm going to go in and then out and erase some of that negative space there. I'm going to go in and out and erase some of that negative space there. And color this part in or shade it in darker. A detail line here and a detail line here to kind of show some depth, how this protrudes right here, how it comes out. So that's a little bit more like his nose than just a plain old oval. Get up close again. Okay. So to make his eyes look cuter, we can make them a little bit bigger and rounder. We're going to make them dark, and then we're going to leave a white spot, or if you had white ink or white paint or something, to just put the white spot in there to show a highlight in the eye, and that's going to make him look really, really cute. So I'm going to make his eye shape a little bit bigger. I'm going to start down here, go bigger, round it in. I'll make it a little rounded down here. Same thing on the other one. Down here, to make it bigger and around. Like this. And I'm going to put a circle where I'm going to leave it white, just a little white highlight. Like that. And I will color the rest dark. That makes it look a little cuter. Maybe bring this down a little bit. That looks kind of weird. A little fur there to make it look, texture lines, sketchy lines to make them look furrier. That is not supposed to be there. That's a mistake. Okay, more details on this little guy. Let's work on his ears some. His ears have all those shapes that go inwards, so he can hear just like us. We have all those funny curves. We can kind of symbolize or indicate those by the shapes we draw. So I'm going to draw a little line that curves in like this with his fur. I'm going to go inward like this. It's like a letter U. And we'll go outward like this. And this is going to be my furry part, so I can add a little texture, little sketchy lines in here. Just close up of that. Thing here, around this edge, I'm going to do some curly texture lines. And then there's some tan fur that comes up this way. I'm going to add some furry texture lines. Then I'm going to draw just like a little loop here. Do that again. It's skinnier here and then fatter as it comes out to indicate that very inner part of his ear. If we had colors, we would be doing that pink, kind of like in here. This would be like a pinky color. So now we're going to do something similar, not exactly the same, but similar to the other ear, because the other ear is turned a little bit. So we're not going to see the exact same shape, but a similar shape. So on this ear, I'm going to make it a little fatter, because I do see more of that ear, the way the angle is. So I'm going to just make it fatter overall, still keeping it narrow at the top. I'm going to erase some of my pre-draw lines. And I'm going to make some marks to indicate where the fur is again on the ear coming in. It's going to be this tan fur. It's tannish in here. Now that teardrop shape here is, I don't know, it's almost like this down here, this ear. That would be the pink part. That's not very good. I want to do that again. While I'm doing that, I like that sketchy look because it looks more like fur over here. I'm going to give it some furry texture too with that same shape. Just looks better to me. Hi, kitty cat. And there's some furry stuff down here. And this part actually connects to, sorry about that, connects to this more. So I'm going to merge that a little bit more, blend those in. Erase the pre-draw line. And I'm going to make little texture marks everywhere he's tan. Well, from last week, we learned cross-hatching, hatching, and pointillism. So you can make your texture marks like this is hatching, like this is cross-hatching, and stippling is dots. And you make things darker by how close you make the lines together or how far apart they are. That's called value range. Same thing with a cross-hatching. You can make your texture furry lines darker, how close the lines are further, and pointillism is the hardest to see because it's so tiny, but it's just dots close together. And then further apart as they go out. See if this shows up backwards. So that's hatching. Yeah, it does show up backwards. I was just curious. I want to teach next week. Oh well. So back to our little furry corgi guy. I'm going to make some texture marks wherever his fur is, has that tan look. They're not the white. Okay. This blends into here. So I'm going to do some texture lines. This part to make him tan. And you can make up your own texture marks. You know, that's not to be hatching, cross-hatching, or stippling. Artists do that all the time. Artists make all kinds of marks that don't have names. Yeah. Those are the three basics, though. Okay. Now to give the tongue and mouth a little bit more depth, I'm going to shade or make a thicker dark line right under here where this letter V is. It separates where his mouth opens. I'll make that line a little thicker and darker on the top. I'll do the same thing on this part. Last week we talked about line quality, where you choose to make your lines thick or thin also depicts depth, makes things not look flat. Then I'm going to bring a line down here, it's a little thinner for the curve of his tongue where it splits. Like so. And I can use some texturing and shadowing there. So the tongue where it goes back in the mouth, it's darker. Where it comes forward, it receives more light, so it's lighter if we're doing a black and white drawing. So on this part, I think I'm going to stipple my darks and lights right underneath that thicker black line. I'm going to make some little dots close together, and I'll get really close so you can see them. As I get out from the shadow, what's going to be the shadow, I make the dots further apart from each other. And that from a distance will make what's going to look like a shadow lighter. I'll pull this back so you can see more of the overall effect it gives you. Go back in there and do some more detail with darks and lights and that shadow of the tongue. So we were saying last week, stippling and hatching and cross hatching are time consuming for like pen and ink work, or just if you do it with pencils too. Some people like to do it with like a ballpoint pen, even black pen, or you can get a calligraphy pen. But it's very relaxing. It's like therapy. If you do it with your favorite music on, it's even better, in my opinion. I'm going to erase some of our hatching and cross hatching and stuff over here. Looks messy. Okay. Well, let's continue our details in that area. I'm going to erase a little bit of this part of the mouth. I want it to be out more. You don't have to for yours if you don't want to, but I want it to be out more like that, like or sideways rather than vertical. I think I'll do the same on the other side. I'm going to go up, whoops, up vertical, and then I'll take that top line kind of out more to the side. Yeah, it looks more like his mouth goes. You know, sometimes they have that black lining or shadow looking thing. I'm going to make that by indicating, making this line a little darker here. And I can even do a little dark almost triangle in the very back to give it depth, the idea of going back in space to make it look more 3D. Sorry. Look how far we've come from that funny looking bear thing at the beginning. Still have more detail, but he's getting there. Starting to be a cutie pie. Okay, so even though his nose is black, to show depth of where it curves in and out, some parts are blacker than others and some parts are more gray. Then how the heck do you do that in a black and white drawing when all you've got is black and white? You once again do that with some kind of texture marks. So I see his nose is a little bit darker down at the bottom. So I'm going to add some, you can do whatever marks you want, hatching or cross-hatching or stippling. I'm going to do some stippling marks down towards the bottom of his nose that are close together. It's also a way to do what some artists call value range, where you get your dark and your light shadows. So see how that nose is starting to have a little bit more depth now. It's not flat, it's starting to have some dimension. Okay, up here I see a little highlight and then a dark place. So I'm going to do some dots here and here around kind of like this little shape to show a highlight over here. And you wouldn't have to do dots. You could shade it with your pencil and do some blending. So many different ways to show value range. I'm feeling the pen and ink look lately though, so that's going to do mine. Isn't he cute? Now in here are little tiny teeth and stuff. You can get real detailed or not. If you want to, you can just add like a few little bumps. Get that really close so you can see it. To indicate that there are some teeth there. Just the impression of some teeth down in there. Almost like little letter U's upside down. And if you really wanted to go to town, you could add some cross-hatching or stippling right about there, coming down from the top of that black line to make it show some more depth. You don't have to, but you can. Pull it back. Whoops. I'm just dropping my pen today. Doing better at our job demonstrating, but dropping my pen. You can grab it. Now I think it would be fun to add some more details to those paws down at the bottom to make them more paw-like. So I'm going to zoom in on the feet. This is front paws right there. To make this feel a little bit more like paws, I'm going to draw some lines and some shading or textures to indicate the paws. So first I'm going to start with erasing this little pre-draw line here and a pre-draw line here where it's like connected. And watch this, it's really simple. It's almost like magic. Okay, so I erased that. I'm going to just draw a curve, kind of like a letter C again, here, and another one here. And then I'm going to draw a U here and U here. Now already that makes it feel more like a paw than the oval. All I did was erase the tip, did a curved line here, like a letter C, but stretched out, letter C. And then a U here and a curve here like a letter C, and a U here, and we leave a little bit extra. That's like kind of like the toe that's in back that we can't really see because the way his paws turn. Look at that. It's more like a paw. Less like an oval, floppy thing. I want to, I can erase some of that pre-draw sketchiness here. Maybe I want to add more to it later, make it furrier, but right now I'm going to just erase some of it. Okay, we're going to do the same thing with this paw down here, but I shouldn't say the same thing. We're going to make marks on that to make it look more like a paw. They're going to be curved, but they're not going to be the exact same way because they're not the same direction. So on this paw, I'm going to erase some of the bottom stuff here. Again, I'm going to do a letter C that's curved. But so this is front and front. I'm going to let this shape curve the opposite direction. I'm going to do a letter U. I'm going to do a letter U almost like a J going up this way, and a letter U sort of like a J going up that way. And then I'm going to erase some of the pre-draw lines. Let's see, it's almost like it's two C's back to back or a letter U, however you want to look at it, like a letter U in the middle, and curving it up. Now, look how much more these look like paws than those two. See? Now, the back paws are going to be smaller because they're behind, and in perspective, we learned that things get smaller as they go back. I could even make this one a little shorter, so I want to get very particular. The other one could stand to be a little shorter too, but whatever. They're behind. They're further back in perspective. So I'm going to erase some of my pre-draw lines on these paws back here. I'm going to make them bigger so I can show you the detail. How I'm going to do the feet. I'm going to draw a curved line here. I'm going to erase some of this oval. I'm going to draw a curved line here. And then I'll draw just a little tiny one back here. That one's behind. I could probably make that even smaller. It looks like he has kind of like club feet, but make them a little smaller. You know, they do have stubby feet, but anyway. You see, that's just like a letter C or U, C or U, C or U. Half of a circle, curved things. Okay. This little foot is turned more towards us like this one. It's not actually sideways, it's kind of turned toward us. Okay, so to do that, I'm going to do a curve here. I'll do a little curve here, but it's a little bit more forward facing. Then another curve here. And just a little bit of something showing back there. I like how dark that is. I'll mess with this one a little bit more. I don't like that shape that well. I think it should come up higher and then go out, up higher and then go out. Yep. That's a little bit better. Well, that should be a little bit more hidden. Are yours starting to look like dogs now?
I know.
Like corgis? Can I see what y'all have so far? I'm gonna get back to our doggy. I'm going to do some more indications of where that tan fur is. And making some more marks here. I'm going to erase a little bit of this pre-draw right here.
Okay.
You do a little bit of shadow here where this leg muscle connects by making more marks. That will make them look more 3D. And then this leg is underneath that area, so you can make more marks, either cross-hatching, hatching, or stippling, whichever you want. Some more marks over here to show this leg is in front. Just continue with your marks from where you see fur. Parts tan. Now, if you wanted to give him a ground line or a place to be standing, you wouldn't want to put it underneath him. That's what a lot of beginning artists do. You wouldn't want to put like underneath his feet. To make it look like his feet are standing on the ground, you do it above his feet, but maybe below his body. So something like this. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. So make that line above his feet, but below part of his body, and that looks like he's standing on a surface. It could be a floor, or you could add bumpy places, and there could be bushes behind them. To further make him look like he's standing on a surface, we can add shadows under his paws. So I'm going to do some stippling. I might do a mix of stippling and cross hatching. I'll make shadow going back this way behind him. So I'm making some darker marks under his paws. And right here in between his paws to indicate where his belly might be in the shadow. And then underneath his paws again. Yeah, I'm so finding out Zoom is a wonderful thing in these times. I've had an art teacher happy hour. We've had drawing with some of my artist friends from the International Caricature Arts Network, where we draw each other live. We just have some discussions about things and how we're doing and how people are coping. And I feel so much better after the sessions. It's just like,
Yes.
It's a good thing. Even if you're a loner artist, it's some kind of human contact and relationship bonding. It's like, it's needed. Like minds and all. Okay. Where's my Corgi for today?
Yay!
Yay, here is a close-up. Okay.
Oh,
So
cute.
I hope you've enjoyed it. Each time I work with you guys, it gets me better and more comfortable, and it helps me just as much as it does you. It's a wonderful thing. I really thank Jennifer for getting this all started.